welcome to the third episode of Weekly Takes by Jagjit. In this episode, we will talk about the happenings of last week around the world and in India. Situation in the United States of America, results of the last Rajya Sabha elections, and India-China dispute. Yesterday was Juneteenth, the day when America commemorates and reflects on a pivotal proclamation of 1865, marking the end of official enslavement in the US. Over 150 years have passed, but America still struggles for the fight against systemic racism and senseless killings of people like George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Rayshard Brooks, to name a few. Point to ponder. Is it because of Trump being in power? Let's think about it. Now on to an interesting but lesser known fact about the United States, and particularly New York City. The island of Manhattan was purchased from Native Americans, or as we had read in the history books, from Red Indians in 1626 for about $1,000 only. By a conservative estimate, the price value of Manhattan Island today would be roughly, take a guess, about $578 billion, slightly higher than the GDP of Argentina. Now, news about COVID. Cities in America are slowly opening up. June 22nd, New York City will enter its second phase, wherein some in-store shopping, outdoor dining in restaurants and bars, and some offices, as per the directions of the government of New York, will open up. पिछले एपिसोड में हमने आपसे कहा था कि हम बिहार चुनाव पर चर्चा करेंगे और साथ ही राज्यसभा के चुनावों के नतीजों की समीक्षा भी करेंगे. As I had predicted, BJP made gains and the Congress party had to incur losses. Some of the old faces like Digvijay Singh won. Congratulations to him on a personal note. But in his victory, the party has lost a major chunk of its traditional votes, the Dalit voters. Voters are not as gullible as we may think of anymore. Gujarat, the home turf of the Prime Minister and the Home Minister, the results were very much predictable and along the lines. Rajasthan may have had Congress to win this time, but in the weather predicts some turbulence in the near future. Manipur was a setback for the Congress party even after the defection of 3 MLAs. This shows the poor management skills of the organization in Manipur, as well as at the same time it talks up a lot about the popularity of the BJP candidate. Now moving over to the hot topic of India-China border dispute. Let's begin by describing the characteristics of the two countries. China, a totalitarian, authoritarian regime governed by a party which has thrived on expansionist ideas. Tibet, Taiwan, Macau, Mongolia are examples of the same. From a legal standpoint, Tibet has to this day not lost its statehood. It is an independent state under illegal occupation. Similar is the story of Taiwan, which China sees as a breakaway province that will eventually be part of the country again. And yes, to top it all, China is an economic and military superpower. Contrast it with India, a democratic, secular republic which embodies within itself the concept of Sarva Dharma Sambhav and Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. All the world is one family, a country which has no history of aggression, and yes, India is a growing economic power, and combine that with a great military to boast of. And incidentally, both these countries belong to the same geographical region, a region for conflict. India inherited its border dispute with China from British colonial rulers. Since 1914, when efforts were made by the British to recognize the borders of Tibet, which is popularly known as the McMahon Line. Border dispute first flared up during Nehru's visit to Beijing in 1959, when a map shown by Zhou Enlai was objected to by Nehru. This happened all the way back in 1959. 1962, a row over the border demarcation amidst the backdrop of Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai is well known. China captured Aksai Chin and the Saksma Valley from India. Then in 67, we witnessed the Nathula conflict in Sikkim region. In 1975, the Tulangla ambush in the Arunachal area. And in 2017, the Doklam conflict in the Sikkim area again, wherein Indian army was sent by troops to stop China constructing a road in the Indian part of the area. 2020, the Ladakh confrontation. In this, China wanted India to stop construction of road in its side of the line of actual control. Confrontation ensued. Initially, both countries had agreed to retreat from the line of actual control. On 15th June, a fist fight happened in the area near Point 14, wherein 20 Indian soldiers were martyred. And as per reports, 45 Chinese soldiers lost their lives. The country India mourns its warriors. In retaliation, India has deployed its armed forces along its border in the north, all the way from Kashmir to Arunachal Pradesh. All nearby airports are on high alert, and Navy too has been alerted in the Indian Ocean and Bay of Bengal. India has launched a full offensive on three major fronts: diplomatic efforts through its own channels, preparedness for war, and economic boycott of China, which has been taken very seriously and assiduously by the masses. The question remains, why is the Galwan region so important for China? A region which has permanently and always been of India. India has constructed strategic roads in the region for the troops. It has established an air base in the area and now also constructed
And this is the area along which China is creating its CPEC, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. Add to this the abrogation of Article 370 and making of Ladakh a union territory and neutralizing of terrorists coming from Pakistan since the beginning of this year in large numbers. Being at a height in this area is also advantageous for India, which China does not want. That is the problem. Yes, the nation is emotionally charged because of the 20 soldiers martyred, but the most important factor to understand at this point is the role of the opposition. Almost all of them are with the government and with the nation, but for the Congress party. Its erstwhile president, Shri Rahul Gandhi, who may in future be again the president, has differing views, and he has questioned the Prime Minister on various fronts. He is an ambitious person and has the desire to become the Prime Minister of India someday. It is good to be ambitious, but when you are aiming high, you need to have the qualities of a leader. As Chanakya wrote, an ideal king is one who has the highest qualities of leadership, intellect, energy, and personal attributes. The qualities of intellect are desire to learn, listening to others, grasping whatever you learn, retaining it, understanding thoroughly, and reflecting on knowledge, rejecting false narratives, and adhering to the true ones. In simple words, you may not be all knowledgeable, all encompassing. Nobody is. Seek advice, but not from the coterie. Seek advice from those who give you clean and answers without any bias, because the coterie will give you what you want to hear. Think and act like an Indian because the nation wants you to be perceived like that. अगले सप्ताह क्या हम भारत नेपाल संबंधों के बारे में चर्चा करेंगे या बिहार चुनाव के बारे में या एक बहुचर्चित विषय नेपोटिज्म पर? अपने ख्याल हमें बताएं. प्लीज सेंड मी योर व्यूज एंड इफ यू लाइक माय चैनल डू सब्सक्राइब टू इट एंड यस press the bell icon so that you will get early notifications. And do not forget, June 21 is International Yoga Day. Do your part, contribute towards it. And hey, it's also my marriage anniversary day. See you next week. Till then, Jai Bharat, Jai Hind.